Hello,
Good evening.
Mateo is can't couldn't make it tonight, so I am the host. All right. Michael's here, Mayor's here, Scott's here. Wait a little bit longer for Bob. Well, we can open the meeting because we have a quorum. Bob will join us, I'm sure. All right, so welcome everybody. This is the June 11th, 2026 meeting of the Conservation Commission. I'm opening it. It's 7:02. This meeting's being recorded. All right, first on our agenda is comments from the chair. All I have is that I did see a request for a butter notification for a butter list from National Grid for the large project that we've kind of been talking about a little bit, the big transmission line project. So they were just requesting their abutters list. I know they had a couple questions on it, so I don't know how soon the application will actually come, but that'll be exciting. Something to look forward to. Um, that's all I had. I have something under unanticipated business at the end that we can talk about, but besides that, nothing new from me. So let's move on to review and vote on the minutes of May 28th. Does anybody have any comments or changes on those?
Oh,
No.
good.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion then to approve the minutes of May 28th, 2026.
So moved.
Great. Second?
Seconded.
Second.
All right. Roll call. McDuffie,
Aye.
Fox,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. I still don't see Bob. Right. Let me see if he wants to come in. Forgot that I'm in charge of that.
Hey, Beth, can you hear me okay?
I can. Hi, Bob.
Oh, good.
Um, so we started the meeting without you, sorry. But all we've done is vote on minutes.
Okay.
So we're
The
on
most,
item number 3,
the
which
most
is
exciting part, and I missed it. That's okay. I'll read the
the
minutes later.
most exciting. Yeah, most exciting. Um, Number 3 on the agenda is site visit update. Mayor, do we have any updates?
No, I'm sorry I wasn't able to make the site visit today, but
Oh, that's all right. Both Scott and Bob were there, so we were well represented. And I know that Mateo's not on the call, but he's still trying to set up that site visit near the elementary school, which has been sort of strange. Um, because we just haven't had good communication, I think, with the owners, and then they expected us to be there, and then we weren't there because nobody had really confirmed that we were supposed to be there. So we'll see where that goes. I don't. I think again, Mateo reached out, and hasn't heard back, so.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
Okay.
I do remember all that miscommunication.
Yeah. All right, moving on then. 4 is land management updates. Scott?
Yeah, I think you have another part of the agenda to talk about like the bid opening too and the regs. So I don't have anything beyond those two items.
Okay. But you're prepared to talk about the bids, right? Because I haven't had a chance to look too much at all of that.
Yeah, I don't know that um I can certainly be prepared to do that. I didn't know if they had been, I think Mateo opened both of them right today, and that's what he had sent us, right?
Right. Yeah, I think in the text, there was sort of a text chain, but I haven't had much of a chance to look, but
Yep, I can talk about that.
great. Sounds good. All right, well, we're a little early for our 7:15 item.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I'm just gonna jump over to not that specifically, but when I was trying to find it. I know I found it before with the 36 South Laurel Drive, but when I go under notices of intent, I I see to all different years, right? Oh, I see it. Never mind. Never mind. I see it now. Okay. All set.
All set. Good.
All set.
All right, since it's only 7:08, why don't we jump to number 6, which is discuss and vote and ratify an emergency certification for some hazard tree removal at 678 Pratt Corner Road. And I can share that emergency cert really quickly with you guys so you can see it. I think I can do that. Oh, nope. Can you guys see the emergency cert?
I see
Yeah.
email.
Ah, why does it do that? How's that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just a update or reissue of this emergency cert. So we issued this in November, I think, last year, and he wasn't able to get his tree company out there, and then it snowed so much that it was not a winter to get them out there. So he came and asked for sort of a reissue of the same emergency cert. It was to take down trees that were threatening their house. We did a site visit back in October. And let's just see what it says. There were 7 compromised trees taken down and chipped. No equipment is allowed. What does that say? Allowed to enter the stream area or the stream bank or the wetland area behind the house. All efforts be made to keep equipment on the driveway in the front and in the upland areas in the back. All debris must be removed from the site, and 7 native trees shall be planted within 8 feet of where the removed trees were located. So I think he's definitely started the work of taking down the trees, and I told him that we would want to come and see the newly planted trees when that's all done. So I'll stop sharing that. Does anybody have any questions on that one? No. Okay, so I'm looking for a vote to ratify that emergency cert number 2 for 678 Pratt Corner Road.
So moved.
I'll second.
Great. Roll call. Gone.
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
McDuffie,
Aye.
Fox,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. Great. All right. Still only 7:11, so possibly we can do number 7 really quickly also. Number 7 is discuss and vote on an administrative approval request, otherwise known as a small project permit for some deck work at 8 Lake Drive. And Bob and Scott and I did a little site visit there this afternoon. And you guys were emailed the form. I suppose I can bring that up again. I think I had that. So if I do this, I do this. Can you guys see that?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so this is our short little administrative approval slash small project form. We got the applicant's name, where the project's going to be. And what this is there's already a deck, a raised deck, and he's going to enclose it. And then the only real work that's going to involve any ground disturbance is they're going to replace the beams that support the deck, and they're going to use those helical drilling, I don't know what they're called.
Helical
To put the new,
piers.
what was that, Bob?
They're called helical piers.
That's it. Yes, helical piers. They're going to put those in new. So that's the only disturbance. And the beauty of those is that they don't involve digging to put them in. They just kind of screw them in. So that's the project. That's why they were able to do a small project application. There's really not a lot of disturbance, and it's over 50 feet from the lake, the bank of the lake. So that's it, and the form is very simple, just all it is. Any questions on that one?
Mm-mm.
All right, looking for a motion to issue a administrative approval request slash small project permit for 8 Lake Drive.
I'll also move.
All right, second?
Seconded.
Okay, roll call. Fox,
I'm abstaining. I wasn't there.
McDuffie,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
and Wilson, aye. All right,
Madam Chair, could I just do a quick follow-up?
yep,
I'd like to commend the engineer and the applicant for this particular installation. The helical piers are good supports, yet don't cause any digging close to the lake. So anyway, I just wanted to go on the record with that.
great. Yeah, we support those. That's a good invention. All right, it's close enough, I think, to 7:15. So let's go back to number 5 on the agenda, which is the continuance of the public hearing for the notice of intent for reconstruction of a single-family home and septic system with associated site improvements, portions of which are located within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 36 South Laurel Drive, parcels A41 and A50. And I see Rob's here to talk to us. So just to update everybody, because hopefully people looked in their email. This is why it's better to get things sent to us further ahead, because sometimes our crew, may not check their emails right away. But we did get the revised site plan today, about 2:30 or so in the afternoon.
Yep.
But I did respond to Nina just saying that that's really too close to meeting time for us to be able to close the hearing tonight. I think the commission needs time to look at the plan, and then also we try to post that kind of stuff on the website so that the public can has a chance to look at the stuff before the meeting also. But we would really like to go through it with you tonight.
Sure.
And then do a continuance.
I think we can go through it. We have so for the record, first of all, hi everybody. I'm Rob Levesque from our Levesque Associates. You had, I think at the last public hearing, I think Rebecca was with us or with you, and obviously the Gribcos are here tonight. Hi guys. So they're in the background over there. So I don't see that I have the ability to share. Is it possible to give that ability?
I hope so, yeah. Usually our land use clerk is here to
Okay.
do these things, but let's see, you are Rob. All right, I think you should have the ability now.
All right. Let me see here. So I'm not sure exactly what you're seeing. Hopefully this bar is not in your way. I don't know where it just went, but hopefully, are you guys seeing the plan?
Yep.
We see the plan, maybe not the whole plan, but we've got the house pretty centered on what we're
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
at.
I'm zoomed in a little. I can zoom out if you'd like. If there's a way to do that. Let me go. So this is the overall, and then I can zoom in as we go, I guess. So again, so we had the public hearing. There was questions raised related to I think a number of items. I believe we've addressed all of those. Specifically, we're showing again that the proposed home, the deck. There is a retaining wall that you see here. There's also the septic system. Just for clarity, the septic system has already been reviewed and approved by the Board of Health. There was also, I believe, a question, at least I think we saw it via email, related to the Zoning Board of Appeals. There is no specific filing required based on the review of the building department related to the ZBA, just because we're meeting all of the setback requirements. So I think that was one of the questions that needed clarity. So that said, the septic system, as you can see, is in the front of the house. There was some concern about the slope, and I think traversing over that septic system. So we've added bituminous pavement to at least the limit of the property line. I think as kind of discussed in previous meetings. I'm sorry, we have dogs barking off in the distance. If you can hear that, I really apologize. Um, in addition, there was questions related to kind of how the stormwater was going to be handled. The nice thing about these retaining walls that we're proposing, or this retaining wall, is that there is drainage that we incorporate behind the walls. Typically, there would be a perforated pipe that would kind of collect any sort of drainage, one to protect the wall from any sort of drainage issues, but two, it acts as kind of a French drain, so to speak, that would pick up any flow or groundwater flow off of the hill, and then that would run to. We have a couple connection points for the roof leaders that we would then pick up. So it's a little bit hard to see. So I will zoom in and see if I can. Let me go to see what that looks like. If you give me, I was just trying, I don't know if you guys can hear the dogs in the background, can you? No?
No,
Oh,
I
good.
can't hear.
Oh, it's driving me crazy. Sorry. Um, so, okay, so I'll just see if I can, so I'll just kind of highlight it here. So there would be a, a French drain essentially behind the wall here, perforated pipe that then runs around the corner. There's a little junction yard drain that picks up the roof leaders here and then here, and then that would be routed around the septic tank here, out and with daylight in the front of the yard. We've added a little rain garden, little depression with some plantings around it. Those, and then there's another rain garden over here to kind of just handle water coming off of the site to make sure that it doesn't cause any issues. As you're aware, under the Wetlands Protection Act, there's no, the stormwater standards don't necessarily apply to single family homes, but we do understand the comments and questions from the commission and wanted to at least address those, and with the rain gardens as suggested. That said, my understanding is there was a question related to the trees to be removed. So again, the limit of work is the silt fence line here, kind of going around. It transitions from a limit of work along the high side, which, obviously silt fence doesn't really make sense on the high side, but we would certainly identify a limit of work, which then transitions to a limit of work / silt fence to prevent any migration of materials into any sensitive resource areas or their buffer zones. So in the process of dealing with that, we did count the trees on site. I believe there was a site visit conducted, and Cole Modesto from our office attended the site visit and quantified the trees and some of the species. And we have prepared, and on this plan, I'll zoom out again. We've prepared a one-to-one replacement of those trees. So within the limit of work, we're showing trees and or shrubs to be located within the site to essentially revegetate around the proposed work. Obviously, in the areas that we can provide them. Obviously, don't want them over the septic system, can't go over the driveway or the house or the decks, but anywhere where we felt that we could appropriately site them, we certainly did. So there is a detail of that, the species that are proposed. And there's, I believe, a table if I can find it here. So up on the upper left side of the plan, we have sugar maple, hemlock, beautyberry, Virginia sweet spire, and rhodosier dogwood, and as well as inkberry. So we have some shrubs and some trees. And again, those have been cited in what we believe is logical location. Certainly, during, on-site activities, those could certainly be, if the commission wanted a condition where they were to kind of review the final location, final resting place, so to speak, of those plants, certainly would be open to a condition such as that. So I'll stop there for a minute and see if there's any questions through the chair, and I can certainly address any other items that you think I might have missed.
Thank you for adding a whole lot of stuff that we've asked for. I think at the site visits and at our last meeting, we talked a lot about stormwater, and I think you guys have really addressed it very well. I'm just kind of looking again, in addition to getting the plan a little late, we got these comments from a member of the public a little bit late, and I'm trying to just go through those to see if there's anything. They do bring up again the potential of moving the septic further away from the wetland, but based on where the well is, I think is the reason that it is where it is, right? There's no.
Yeah. So under the Title V regulations, the term is maximum feasible compliance. And there is some relief in variances that can be granted and were granted for a septic such as this, where there was a previous structure. So there's really, as you can imagine, on a site like this, limited locations and also just constructability and feasibility as well. So we have logically located that, and again, the Board of Health seemed to agree with the approach as they had approved the plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of my concerns have been addressed, which is great. For me, I think the only thing is that we need to continue to allow everybody to really let the new plan sink in, and then to let the public have a chance to also look at it. But I'm looking to see if other commissioners have questions. I've got a lot going on here on my screen. Bob, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to kind of give a report from observations that I had on today's plan and the site visit. I was happy with the location of the sedimentation control. It was right at the top of the slope, so I do think the wetland will be protected from possible construction movements, etc. Thought that was good. I'm seeing the plant species that you detailed tonight, and I think those are all excellent. Those should take off very well in those conditions. I do have a question about the lots, Robin. If you wouldn't mind, can you show me the lot that the that's owned by the applicant with maybe with an arrow?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So the street line of the lot is right here, and it jogs back, and then it continues this way, and then bang it right here across the back, and then back to the street line.
Excellent, thank you. And
Yes,
these
sir.
were at one time two lots, is that right?
Yes, held in common ownership. That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
parcels. Yes, absolutely.
Parcels,
Yep.
yep, two parcels. Now, you called it the street line, the area to the left, as we're currently looking at it, I guess it's probably to the west. Now that is, who is the owner of that parcel?
So that's the South Laurel Drive right of way. So with a private way, um, and I haven't done a title report myself on this, but typically with a private way, the owners on either side of the property typically own to the center line based on the derelict fee statute. Um, so arguably to the center line of that right of way, normally under the derelict fee statute, the owners or and under the um, unless expressly stated otherwise, typically the owners would own to the center line, even on a normal right of way.
So, the commission is issuing a permit, for the work to be done on the co-joint lots you discussed. But there certainly is work within the 100 foot that's taking place in that area that's marked Laurel Drive. So I guess I and I don't think we can issue an order for that because it's not part of the application. If it's owned by somebody other than the proponent, we would need their signature on it. So if you could, before our next meeting, look into the ownership and the feasibility of doing that work. Is there an easement that allows this type of construction on that? Can you get a signature from the owner or whatever? Because we cannot give. I don't believe we can give an order of conditions for a piece of property that's not part of the application.
That's actually a great, very, it's nice to get some accurate procedural questions. I tend to agree that we want to ensure that if and when the commission decides to issue an order, that it's procedurally correct.
I think Linda has a response to that because we talked at the site visit about it and the Gribco's looked into it, right?
Yes, we did. There's an approximately 8 foot zone across where our property ends and the actual traveled right of way for South Laurel Drive begins. So two things. South Laurel Drive has shifted over time. It's gravel, obviously. Part of it right now on the west side is actually over our property on 35 South Laurel Drive, but that's neither here nor there. I reached out to Priscilla Haggerty. She is the owner of the Laurel Drives, and she responded back. I can read you what she said. She said, regarding the Concom, I agree to any changes, modifications, and tree removal regarding the 8 foot strip. Priscilla Ames Humphrey Haggerty. So we have her permission via email to do whatever we need to do. I made it clear to her that we are only clearing and replanting as needed to get the driveway in there, and to do any construction work that, is needed. So there's no problem with that 8-foot strip. She also owns the road itself, and we do have a deeded right-of-way across that 8-foot strip and across the road. It's written in our deed that we can cross and recross and whatever on that. So I have both the deed and her email to say it's okay to do what we need to do. I sent it to Mateo. I don't know if you got it, Beth.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't know if the
Okay.
rest of the commission actually saw that. It was usually it's an email
Okay.
to the whole commission, but I'll check and see.
Okay.
So can I just ask Linda, on that same note, was Priscilla informed of this work and presented with any of this information as an abutter? Or the road
Yes,
owner?
she was on the abutters list. Yep.
Okay, that's okay.
She's she's being taxed for the Laurel Drives. So
Yeah,
they have her address.
yeah. Scott, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. I had just a quick question about I think it's about drainage coming from, I understand the roof drainage, lot drainage being directed to the rain garden. And I was wondering where it went from there. I missed that part. And then I had a question about the leaching field, but maybe we'll just stop at the rain garden and get an answer from Rob.
So we have pretty permeable material out there. During our test pits, we were, with pretty good soils. So we would anticipate that not only sheet flow off pervious surfaces outside the bituminous would obviously, infiltrate into the ground, and then the rain gardens themselves will be, kind of plunge pools for the infiltration of rainwater. Beyond that, in kind of larger events, it would continue to sheet flow towards Laurel Drive as it did previous. So essentially, pre-development conditions essentially direct water in the same general manner, and then eventually, towards the wetlands, depending on exactly where your water droplets are dropping. But generally speaking, it would be sheet flow to the west, and then west southwest, depending on where it's landing.
But part of this, if I understood that correctly, because I think, prior to the drain on the east side, the French drain that's going in, that water would have flowed down right to the south to the wetland, wouldn't it have? Or at least that's how it looked when I was there, like the land flow kind of pitched that way.
It's so the water would flow, sorry to interrupt, but the water would flow generally perpendicular to the contours. So if you kind of, the contours running this way, these light dashed lines are the existing contours. So if we're kind of running a water droplet, we're heading generally, I don't want to say due west, but west southwest, kind of generally, which is
Okay.
the proposed contours generally mimic that.
Gotcha. So the water from the rain garden, you expected it would infiltrate the same direction, part of it going west, maybe ground into the lake, maybe part of it going south into the wetland.
I think that's an accurate statement. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And well, that relates then to my next question, which is the leaching field, which isn't that far away, but half of it's contained within the 50-foot buffer.
Yes.
Do you anticipate the leaching field? I'm thinking about, um, nitrogen and phosphorus coming from the leaching field and going into the wetland using, and I was going to ask about the permeability of the soils and if we expected it would go there, but it sounds like what you just said about the rain garden, you would expect that it would go there, down to the wetland. The leaching field may leach into the wetland to the south.
Um, so what I was saying about the rain gardens is that um, once if they were to fill up, so you get a microburst or a large storm event, eventually the rain gardens would fill up and sheet flow generally to the west. But you can see the contours kind of bend here. So depending on
Mhm.
where your water droplets are, or if they come off the slope, they could go towards the wetland. As far as the leach field, the leach fields are designed and to be obviously we need permeable material under Title V. They allow anywhere from 2 minutes to 60 minutes per inch. I do have the septic plan. I could see what the perk rate was. But generally speaking, if there is a nitrogen sensitivity issue that gets raised in the Board of Health review. So I don't believe that was an issue that was raised. There was no sort of variances or additional areas needed. A lot of times they'll have you do an aggregation plan if you're in a nitrogen sensitive area or if they're anticipating anything being affected by the effluent from the septic. So while you guys are looking at this and asking other questions, I'll try to see if I can get that perk rate for you.
Yeah, I think, and I understand it, and of course you understand this too. The Board of Health is probably looking at it differently. They're looking at the impacts in human health and on for the Title V regs. This is being constructed in the buffer zone, in a protected wetland. And so I'm most interested in, does the leaching field, is there potential for that to impact the protected wetland, given its close proximity, to the protected wetland?
Understood. There is an impervious barrier included, I've noticed in the septic system design, that would prevent horizontal migration of effluent. At least, superficially. Let me just see if I can find the rate for you as well. Let me see if I can stop sharing and then I'll start again. Share. Let's try this. It'll look much the same, but this, I believe, will be the septic plan. Here we go. Bear with me, sorry. So this is an impervious barrier that around the leach field itself. It certainly could be extended. There's no provisions for it, there are no issues with extending it. So we could always extend that. I guess that would be to the south to further protect the resource area to make sure that there's, it's kind of not necessarily prohibiting, but certainly inhibiting migration of material to the south. Let me see if I can find that perk rate for you too.
While you're looking, Rob, that's okay on the perk rate, but I'm wondering on the purpose of that barrier that you just showed. Can you articulate why that wasn't put into the plans here?
Sure. So generally speaking, under Title V, not only is the leach field required to have what they call a breakout distance, so it's kind of a distance horizontally from the field so that you don't have any sort of effluent breakout into, or daylighting. Sometimes if you have like a 3-to-1 slope on the side, they want to make sure you have a breakout distance first so that effluent doesn't migrate, a little bit away from the system and then seep out of the system, so to speak. So they have you incorporate an impervious barrier. Sometimes we do a belts and suspenders approach where we'll do that regardless, just because we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So the downhill side of the system, generally being towards South Laurel Drive, we included that this darker line here is that impervious barrier, which certainly could be extended, certainly as a condition, and we can, in revised plans, we could extend that kind of around the corner. And that would just ensure that that breakout prevention is provided towards the resource area. So good comment, first of all. And second of all, I think there's a pretty good way to address it, to just kind of again, belts and suspenders, but wouldn't hurt anything to put it in, I guess.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Those are all the
Cool.
questions I had.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rob, for showing the septic plan.
Sure.
Linda's got her hand up. Yes, Linda?
Just one more comment, and if Rob wants to show that plan again, we've been there for 33 years, and we have had some pretty good microbursts. One that washed out North Laurel Drive, didn't wash out South Laurel Drive. But I will agree with Rob that when the water comes down South Laurel Drive, it actually migrates toward our driveway at 35 toward the lake, and Rich Reel's driveway next door toward his driveway. It doesn't go uphill toward the septic system. It's actually washed out some in front of the parcel that's owned by Seifert, that little 40 by 60 parcel that's indented into ours. And we have in the past brought gravel and filled that in. So it never gets as far as the runoff from the road never gets as far as the wetland down below. It turns before it gets to there. I can't say that the same will happen with the driveway, with a paved driveway, and Rob has addressed that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Linda,
Right.
let me ask you just for clarification, because I think you're trying to clarify my question. Mine wasn't so much about the flow coming down the road. It was flow coming from where that new drain would be installed and moving down that way. Because it did, when I was standing there, it did, of course, you're standing there looking at the proposed house, and the wetland off to the right was quite a bit lower than where we were standing. So it seemed that some of the water coming off that hill may wrap around that way. That was really the question I was asking about.
Yeah, and it is a good question, and I do believe Commissioner Kahan, I'm sorry, Kahan, if I'm saying your name correctly, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry. I was interpreting your comment and question, I think, accurately in explaining the driveway flow. Also, you see these curves to the contours, so that will kind of capture the water and direct it towards the rain garden, preventing it from I don't want to say it's a little bit of a mound here, but it's kind of a slight high point that will we kind of have a gutter. It's not a gutter, so to speak, but it's a little grassed swale or subtle change in grade here that will direct everything towards this rain garden. And then it will be in south, anything overflows South Laurel Drive and then would continue as it does now. So it shouldn't introduce any real direct flow into the wetland to the south.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Michael, you have your hand up?
Yeah, apologies if I missed it, but in one of the other diagrams you had, it looks like the road surface was, like, I'm guessing little stones, or I was just wondering, we had talked about having half paved, half stone, and I just can't remember where we landed on that.
Yeah, thank you. And you are accurate. It's a little hard to see. I apologize on the Zoom. So this is to represent a gravel drive. My understanding was the request was to have gravel to the property line and then have a bituminous pavings or asphalt, over the septic system and in the area where the kind of the travel path, so that no material migrates or no ruts are happening, and kind of stabilizes that area, and again stabilizes the area over the septic so that doesn't get disturbed as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and the septic system, just so everybody knows, will have pipes that are robust enough, the H20 loading, so you can drive vehicles over them that won't be crushed. We won't have to worry about that. So that's all in the design as well.
All right. I see no other comments from the commission. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Alexandria, you have your hand up?
Yes, hello, everybody. I have a few questions. One about this general project, and I did hear that the zoning board was okayed with this. Is this being proposed as a rebuild, a reconstruction, or a new house? I understand that the existing building is non-compliant, but does that then mean that are you approaching this or proposing this at the building zoning and whatnot as actually it's a new house because it's a new footprint? It's I don't know what's the original size of the house, but it looks like it's about 3 times the size of the existing home.
Yeah, I can answer that through the chair, if that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So generally speaking, there's 3 buckets really we're dealing with here. We have the conservation bucket, we have what I would call a zoning bucket, and we have the Board of Health Title V bucket. So tonight we're dealing with the conservation related to disturbance on the lot. So if the chair would like to entertain, my response on the ZBA, it's essentially what it is it's a pre-existing non-conforming structure. It's a pre-existing non-conforming lot. So there are provisions in the zoning that allow for redevelopment of this nature, and they're very specific to the zoning. And if there are specific questions, we met with early on and have communicated at length with the building officials and the zoning enforcement officer who determines the nature of what needs to be filed. So certainly would be happy to address that, and clarify that. But certainly, if you do have further questions, they are very helpful and certainly can kind of shed some light on the zoning related aspects of what we're submitting.
I'm just wondering if the Conservation Commission has been is aware of that, whether this is a rebuild, a reconstruction, or it's what is actually proposed is a brand new house.
So it will be a new home. So just to clarify, it will be a new home within the property under the allowances provided for pre-existing non-conforming lots. I think, and I don't want to speak for the commission, but certainly the commission is looking at activities within their jurisdiction and looking closely at the performance standards that they have set in place under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the local bylaw. So that's really what the commission is charged with. They look at activities, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, we don't necessarily look at whether it's reconstruction or new construction unless we are looking at stormwater, which only applies to non-single family houses. That's the only time that sort of a determination comes into an application. But because this is a single family house, it doesn't need to meet the Massachusetts stormwater standards and therefore need to really be defined as new construction or a reconstruction. So as Rob said, we just look at work that's in either a wetland or in the buffer zone, and we deal with the impacts.
Okay. And my second just query here is regarding that the ownership of that other parcel. My understanding that the deed is to a trust and not to an individual. And so I'm not sure if the person that gave authorization to work on that property is the person who actually has the authorization to do that.
Yeah, Linda, do you know, is the South Laurel Drive under a trust? Do you happen to know?
I don't know. I do know that the owners of South Laurel Drive have tried diligently to sell it or give it to either me or the Lake Association or the town. There were four sisters, I believe, who were involved, but Patricia is the spokesman. Priscilla is the spokesman for the group. And they did quite an extensive title search on the roads before they decided that it was too complicated and they could not actually give a title to a deed, so they couldn't transfer it. So I can't answer that question. I know that she is the one who gets the tax bills. So she's the spokesman for the group.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she also tried to give it to me too. So that's why I know this a little bit. And so the deed is actually a trust. And so this is a bit of the quagmire. So, because a person pays taxes on something does not necessarily mean that they actually own the property and can be authorized to approve that.
Yeah, so it sounds like before the next meeting, maybe Rob and Linda, you can look into a bit more about that and find out who, for every trust, there's someone who is the signatory for a trust. And if you could find that out and then actually if we could get the page of the notice of intent application, there's a section there for where owners sign. And if we could get her signature added to as an owner of some of the property where the work is happening, then that gives us the right to then issue a permit.
Understood. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to decipher the abutters list, and it's hard to tell what would be a trust or not. Maybe the trustee would be listed. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, there's some names, but yeah, so we can certainly investigate that. Probably not to dig deeper than we need to, but I certainly would want to make sure that we were procedurally correct, to the other gentleman's point as well. So if there is in fact another signature and we are submitting, and this is not an expense that I would want my client to have to go through, but just from a procedural standpoint, it might be prudent to re-notify prior to the next hearing. Only because if there is an applicant, not an applicant, but technically I guess it would be an applicant, right? An applicant and or owner signature. I would want to just make sure that the Form 3 that gets submitted corresponds with the proper signatures and any abutter notification. For example, if we are now including another parcel that's a party to the application, then probably procedurally correct would be to re-notify. So we could send out abutters lists, and it's going to be redundant for most people, but it might be procedurally correct that way. I hate to say that.
I'm pretty sure the ownership line has nothing to do with the actual applicant, but we can look at that.
Okay.
I guess the only thing that I think you're trying to say is that if you hadn't already added that parcel, that's actually the road, as one of the parcels that the work is being on when you were getting your abutters list, then maybe there were some abutters that didn't get notified, because that is really a parcel also where the work is happening.
It looks like it's included, but I need to do a little more digging. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's
we'll
talk
make sure
more
we're-
about that. We can
yeah.
talk offline about that, like
Great.
what's really needed for that signature and everything. And
Okay.
that sounds good.
Thank you.
Sure. Jennifer, you have your hand up? Oh, I think you're
Okay,
muted.
here I am. Yep, here I am.
Okay.
Hi, I have a question about these rain gardens. And you had mentioned that they will kind of function as a retention pool. And
Yeah, it's more of a plunge pool.
okay,
I can explain them a little more.
yeah, no, I understand what plunge pool. And you mentioned that if if and when they fill up the water ridge sheet onto the road or to the wetland.
Yes.
Did I get that right? Okay. So I'm not really sure, and I'm not sure it's relevant necessarily, the dimension and the depth of these pools or plunge pools, but I live on such a road that has retention pools, gravel road, and they routinely fill up with debris and don't function the way that they were intended to function. And also that often happens seasonally when there are not many neighbors around to help to maintain them. In fact, I think when the project was approved by the Concom at the time, they had an order of conditions that required like annual maintenance of these pools. So I just don't know anything about the way that these plunge pools would be constructed, but if it follows form, they're going to fill up, especially on a slope like that. So I don't know if you have thoughts about that.
Through the chair, if that's okay.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, so I think your statement is accurate and fair. Typically, and we could certainly include this in our response. Typically, we put together, we call it an O&M plan, operation and maintenance plan for these types of BMPs, we call them, best management practices for stormwater. So yeah, we could certainly incorporate that. Obviously, you need somebody to adhere to that operation and maintenance plan, like you said. So obviously, someone looking at it seasonally, beginning of the year and the end of the year. Yeah, we would certainly be happy to include an operation and maintenance plan. And typically, there's an affidavit. This is a little bit of a hybrid because this is a single family home. So there's certain things that aren't required, a lot of things that actually aren't required. But I think we could certainly have the applicant maybe sign something that says that they acknowledge that this maintenance needs to be done. I don't think that would be a problem. And
Yeah.
Certainly they would know the duration and they could even list the responsible party. And then should the property transfer, there could be provisions for just carrying on that O&M in perpetuity.
Yeah, that, I'm observing that the plan asks these plunge pools to do an awful lot of work on a slope like that. So having some kind of, regular clean out of the sediment that's going to collect there seems like a good idea. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, the Concom under our conditions, we can, what Rob was talking about in terms of having an affidavit, even having a requirement that the homeowner provide some sort of a completion little checklist to the Concom once a year that they've cleaned out their rain gardens and their whole stormwater system is something we can think about doing. Frank?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Levesque, I noticed that on your proposal, you have all the rainwater from the French drain and the gutters going to the street level, but one on the north goes directly next to my property. And you'll be flooding my property with extra water. Is there a reason for that? Can we?
That's a good question. So
Can you do the same thing to the other that you did on the south side to the north side, so it doesn't burden my property with excess water?
I think that's a fair.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't want to cut you off. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. You're funneling water into my property, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I understand the perception of that, and it's not necessarily incorrect. I think the subtlety is the wall itself, the perforated pipe behind the wall is gathering any sort of we'll call it groundwater flow down to what we'll call the footing of the wall. So it's I would expect, if any, a very slow trickle of water out of the slope. I guess in a major event, because of the permeability of material, you could have that. So I don't think it's an unreasonable ask for us to reroute that, essentially jogging that, I guess I'm gonna call it south if you follow those little arrows, actually, if you can see my arrow. So from the outlet, there's no reason we couldn't extend that and direct it so that, and then the slope is kind of going this way. It would certainly keep it away from this parcel here, sir. So yeah, that's not an unreasonable ask. It's a pretty easy change. But yeah, the reason why we just daylighted it is this is a very subtle perforated pipe that's picking up actually most of the water would be picked up in this because of the nature of how um, the water flows. This will intercept most of it, but I think belts and suspenders, we could certainly adjust that for you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I had a question too about, um, will this project in any way change the contour of the road? Or can we put a condition in to ensure that the contour of the road doesn't change?
Good question. So we have no grading on the roadway surface at all. The gravel roadway will be tying in. That's kind of our controlling grade, and then we come into the property from there. So yes, certainly we're not planning on changing South Laurel Drive. Should they, decide to regrade it or maintain it, obviously they would incorporate whatever they do with, the surrounding driveways. But we are tying into the roadway as it exists with no changes to the roadway.
And since you are here, is there one of the last meeting, one of the conditions that I would like to see is that there be documentation of what the road looks like currently and to ensure that it doesn't change, not just in front of this house, but the entire length of the road all the way up to the dirt part of Wendell, because if you're bringing trucks in, it changes the contour of the road, and or vehicles are being brought in to build this house. It happens regularly, and there's I just want to make sure that we protect against that.
Yeah. So, and I want to be respectful as I answer that. So try to answer that correctly. So the scope of the notice of intent certainly includes the area with the activities we're proposing. So any sort of work that we're proposing certainly would be part of the order. The outlying areas of South Laurel Drive, while it's certainly something that I would hope the Gribcos would communicate with the owners, the trustees of the road, and certainly is a good idea. And I think just being good neighbors is always a good idea. That said, I don't know that it's necessarily within the scope of the current notice of intent as filed. So I don't know how that would be conditioned. Certainly, I would hope that, and maybe the Gribcos could speak to that probably more appropriately. I'm assuming they want to be good neighbors and make sure that any sort of subtle damages to the road would be addressed. Linda, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. That road has been regraded again and again and again. Part of the reason the upper part of the road is regraded is because the water flows down into a house that's right at the bottom.
Exactly.
I'm sorry?
I said exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, we have no intention of changing the grade of the road. If the trucks that bring the materials down, well, two things. First of all, the trash trucks come up and down the road every week. And I don't know how many wheels the trash trucks have or how much weight they'll carry, but I'm sure they carry a fair amount.
They're big.
Yeah, as Mike says, they're big. But if there's any obvious change to the road that is attributable to our construction, obviously we would correct it. We all try to keep the road in good condition, and it deteriorates over time because it's gravel. We've brought in more gravel to fill the ditches, especially in front of our next door neighbor where the water seems to pool, not in front of our house, but in front of theirs. And we brought in a whole load last year to fill in that ditch. it wasn't in front of our property, but it was still a ditch. So as a good neighbor, we filled it in. And we will continue to maintain the road as long as we're there to the best of our ability. The maintenance of the roads around the lake are really they're really maintained by the abutters. And we're one of the abutters, and there are several more. So we all work at it to keep it in good condition. And if we in some way change the conditions, we'll correct them.
All right. I don't see any more questions. No more hands up at this point. Rob, do you want to stop sharing
Oh, I'm sorry.
just so I can see everybody's faces?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I think at this point, is the applicant in agreement to continue the public hearing until our next meeting, which is June 25th?
Yes, please.
All right, so and does 7:15 work again for you guys?
It would for me. I think it works for the group coast as well.
Let me just check. June 25th, sure.
Okay,
That's
great.
fine.
Great. All right, so then I'm looking for a motion from the commission to continue this public hearing until June 25th at 7:15.
Could I just, and I'm sorry to interrupt, could I just ask, I just want to recap. I just want to make sure I'm getting you guys everything. So just real quick.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I was going to recap after we take the
oh,
vote.
perfect. Okay, then I'll be quiet. Sorry.
Okay. Looking for that motion.
So moved.
All right, second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Fox.
Aye.
McDuffie.
Aye.
Douglas.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
And Wilson. Aye. Yeah, I kind of wanted to recap what our responsibilities are and what you guys should work on before the next meeting. I think for us, we're gonna post the new plan on the website so the public has a chance to look at it. We're all gonna have more of a chance to look at that and the comments that we received from a member of the public. And yeah, I think that's really it for our tasks. For you, it seems you're gonna research into the road, the trust, find out who the signator is for that trust, and then I think you and I should talk offline about what should actually be signed that
Yes.
is sort of, the way to proceed with that. What else were you gonna do before the next
I
meeting?
believe we're going to reroute the perforated pipe from the wall away from Mr. McGinn's property, so that it daylights in a more effective location. I believe we were going to include an O&M plan for the rain gardens that would also include some sort of affidavit of service about, making sure that the Gripcos are going to plan on maintaining that. I
Mhm.
think that might be it. And I want to make sure I get that plan to you. I apologize ahead of time or for last time. Yeah, we'll make sure we get that plan to you right away so that can be, because what might make the most sense is to post the updated plan with those minor revisions and probably the O&M. We could try to get those to you right away. And that way
Perfect.
you're going to be posting and won't make extra work for you.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Awesome.
All right.
Can I just ask a question of Rob?
Yeah.
Sure.
I just looked up on the town GIS, and Priscilla Haggerty is listed as the owner of A150, which is the Laurel Drives, the road. I would be happy to send you, Rob, the information from the attorneys who did the titles. They did a very extensive title search. The trust that I think Rhea is referring to is one that they couldn't find. It's something that has disappeared in the sequence of ownerships, and that was one of the reasons why they felt that they couldn't really transfer the property legally and ensure that the title would hold. So, but anyway, I can put you in touch with them. and you can
Yeah.
figure out from them whether or not you need to send a new abutters list. Because Purcell Haggerty, I believe, was on the abutters list.
Okay, that's great. And we can coordinate with the town as suggested. That'd be great.
Okay. Bob, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for your attention to this, Rob. My fear is that if this commission does issue an order of conditions for this piece of land between the applicant's property and the roadway, it hasn't gone through the proper channels of being advertised, a butters notification, and the law states for a determination of applicability, you can do work on somebody else's land, or you can do that application on somebody else's land without their permission. But with a notice, you need to have the signature of the actual property owner. So
You're reading my mind. You nailed it. I totally understand where you're coming from and appreciate the the thought process. So yes,
Cool.
I want to be procedurally correct. I wouldn't want to have a procedural defect after a lot of hard work.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, and nobody likes an appeal. And I worry that without that, we would be subjecting both the applicant and ourselves to an appeal. So thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
All right, so we'll be in touch. And
Great.
and also we'll see you at our next meeting on June 25th.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the presentation
Thank
and
you.
answering all our questions.
Yep, no problem. Have a good night, folks. Bye.
Okay, you too. All right. You're on number 8. Number 8 is opening of bids for Southbrook Lake Wyola Conservation Area Trail Repair Project. Scott.
Yeah, so just to recap where we've been, I think many of you are aware we had a bid that we had been working our way through before that had some irregularities and problems with the bid process, and we had to rebid the project. That was done. We received 2 bids. Mateo opened those here today, and the first bid was from Salandino for $66,356. The second bid was from Terramore, $62,330. So those are the 2 bids. Both are under the project budget that we had there in the grant, and so we'll start making our way through the 2 bids that we had, but we did get 2 bids, and they look to be good and complete. So that's all that I have. I don't know if folks have any questions, or Beth, if you had anything to add.
Just questions. So the next step is calling some references, right? And sort of checking into both of them.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And taking a look at the bid more thoroughly. I don't think we're able, we saw the first few pages, but we need to dig into the full package and make sure they're complete.
And is that you and Mateo are going to take care of that?
I think so, unless anyone else is interested.
I think with only 2, I think you guys got it. I think that's good. All right, and then there's the whole contracting, and then eventually we can do a site visit with whoever it is out there. So what's your expectation for timing?
Boy, I would love to get going on this relatively quickly. We did have some milestones in here to get the site design. I think here later on, I don't want to speak to the date because I'm not sure right off the top of my head what that was, but we have that kind of as the first part, and then we can begin with any of the wetland permitting that the Concom needs to do, and then move our way through it. But we still had shooting for completing the project here this year, which is good.
Great. That's great. Even with our big delay, and hopefully get it done. Great. That's awesome. It's exciting.
Okay.
All right, so we'll make a move on to number 9 because that's Scott also discussion of draft regulations for Conservation Commission, conservation land. And we went through them last week and people had comments and things. So this week, Scott, we're going to talk a little more about them before they go to the town attorney.
Yeah, I think that would be a good next step. So maybe
Did
if
you want to
I
share?
can share, yeah.
Okay, you should be able to share.
All right. So we talked about these are the draft regs we had visited last time. And so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly and just focus on the areas where commissioners had suggested changes. But we do, in the beginning, we talk about our authorities, we talk about the purpose. We talk about this is kind of broken up into permitted uses and uses that are prohibited. Under permitted uses, we talked about different types of recreation that would be allowed, water-based activities, traditional uses, trail uses. We had a conversation on snowmobiles. And recognized that some of the conservation units under our oversight allow snowmobiles. They have deed restrictions that allow them already. Southbrook, with the unit we were just talking about, and those trails would be a good example of that. So we said that this would give us an opportunity to designate those trails where that would be allowed. Land management and special uses. We talked about prohibited uses. Here is one where we had some suggested changes, and it was suggested that under resource damage, we add in some of the historical, archaeological, and cultural resources that are protected with applicable state laws and regulations, may not be disturbed, removed, or damaged without proper authorization. So that's the change to the original based on some of the comments that folks had last time we talked. So maybe I'll stop there and see if that, can't remember, that might have been, was that you, Bob? I can't remember who had raised that, but if that addresses the concern or the comment.
We
I
lose
think it looks
Bob?
good.
Oh,
Ah,
there he is.
I don't think so.
I can't remember who brought it up, but I think what you wrote is perfect. Looks
Yeah.
good.
I agree. It looks good.
Okay, great. We think we get rid of this incompatible recreation based on the conversation that we had. I think that was a good deletion. Under fires and camping, I think this one was you, Bob. It just added in this sentence, camping. This is under prohibited uses, so camping, except as authorized by a special permit issued by the Conservation Commission, recognizing that there might be particular things like a scouting troop or something that wanted to camp there and would want to entertain it. So I made that edit.
Great.
This one, we changed it to broaden it. We had, I think I was focused on Town Beach because that has been the area where there have been concerns raised, but I broadened it just to talk about abandonment and storage of personal property, recognizing this is for all of our lands. So it reads now, placement, storage, or abandonment of personal property, including boats and or watercraft or on conservation lands or the town beach without authorization from the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. So this again is under prohibited activities. So I don't know if this, I, th I think was a good suggestion to broaden it.
Town
Any,
beach be just like described as to what the location is?
do you have a suggestion?
I don't know where the town beach is. That's why I'm asking
Oh,
you.
that's like Elliott Park, you know, where the,
Oh, okay. 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 Uh, I didn't know that that was okay. I didn't know that was considered. Okay, that's fine.
Or
Yep.
yeah, or is that what's called like Lake Wyola Conservation Land? We've got South Brook Conservation Land, and then I think that piece is called Lake Wyola, right? So I would refer to it that way because Elliott Park isn't really our thing. I would say Town Beach on
Wyola.
or in, yeah, in Lake Wyola Conservation Area.
On Randall at Randall Road. I think that would make it clearer.
Yeah, but I think most people should like we should have a map that shows all our conservation areas.
I didn't
That
know
we
that was
do.
called Town Beach. Okay.
I think you have a W in your conservation.
Oh.
Conservation.
Conservation area. Okay. Good. Anything else on this one?
I think it's good.
And then I added in, I think this was a suggestion, to add in access is permitted only from dawn to dusk. So we got that. I think that was those are the only changes. I think we had a whole bunch of stuff on dogs. Basically, I think we're allowing them, provided they're under control of the owners and that the owners are picking up after their dogs and the dogs aren't harassing visitors or wildlife. I think that was it. And so, unless there are any other items here to talk about, I think the next step would be to put this in front of town council and the police chief, just since they would be the ones enforcing it and or reviewing it for legal sufficiency. We can get their comments back, and then we should be in a good place after those are incorporated to talk about having a public meeting here and finalize these, I would think.
I think that sounds like a great plan. Sounds like the right way to approach it. Looking good. Thank you for putting those together, Scott.
You bet.
They're great. All right.
Do you want, how do you want to proceed with that, Madam Chair? Do you want to transmit, you want me to send you this cleaned up copy and then you transmit it to Donna and to the chief, or how would you like to, or do you want me to send it to them, or what is best?
You can, yeah, I'm fine with you sending them, CCing me and Mateo. You could also send it to Mateo and have him send
Yeah,
it out, you know.
there's continuity in the email traffic on it, so
Yeah,
that's a
that's
good
his,
idea.
yeah, that's kind of his role.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Since he's not here tonight, you know, we'll just start laying all the work on him. Okay, that is it. Oh, unanticipated business. Sorry, number 10, unanticipated business. I have not, before getting an email from Brennan, who's the admin for the select board, before getting this email, I had not heard of this new committee. There's a new committee, the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee, which I'm not quite sure what it is. If anybody has any more info, let me know. or feel free to raise your hand. I believe it's a new committee and it's going to have a representative from the Conservation Commission. I think there's a representative from the Select Board, possibly from like zoning, and then some residents. So it's yet another committee having to do with Lake Wyola. Anyway, I got an email that we need to nominate someone. So I'm wondering if there's anyone who is interested to be the liaison to the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee. I don't know much about like how often it meets or anything like that, because I don't even think they've figured that out yet.
Yeah, Beth, the LWAC, the LWAC, is that the one you're speaking of?
Mhm.
I believe this is a new version of LWAC. And this is also something I heard from a resident, not from anybody in an official position, that it's some new version of that where there's going to be residents from around the lake who will be on the committee, but they're trying to make it a little more of an official town committee. So they're going to include members from these other town committees.
So
And
it
I
has
got an
nothing,
email.
does it have anything to do with the roads and the reports from the roads, or?
That's a completely different committee. Yeah, that
Okay.
committee, which Bob is our liaison to,
Yeah, that's what I
is
thought.
right. That's what's the title of that committee, Bob? It's not the erosion
SMIC,
task force anymore.
right.
What?
I think it's called SMIC or something like that.
Yeah, stormwater management, something. Yeah.
Right, yeah,
So that's a
Does it-
different committee.
right. But there is and was and has been for quite some time in LWAC or LWAC, and
Exactly.
I have been on that as well, representing the commission for a while now. And that committee's been around for, I don't know, at least 10 years, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
So you're on that
yeah,
committee right now?
yeah, I'm on that committee right now. So if there is a new one with the exact same name, with almost the exact same charge, I would raise my hand and say that I would be happy to be on it.
I think it is the same. I think they're adding, because so that committee that exists now, does that have like a representative from the select board and a representative from the planning board or ZBA on it?
Yeah, Stalker was, I believe, always present. Selectman Stalker was always
Yeah.
present on it. Walter Tibbetts, and others. And you know what? I think probably if I can kind of fill in my thoughts why it may be changing is that was an ad hoc committee that was put together, a decade or more ago. And I think what they're trying to do is make it a permanent committee, and that may be why it's coming across our desk again.
Yeah, it is. I think you're right. Because this kind of a formal email is something that I've always gotten for the erosion task force or the stormwater group. But I had never gotten a formal email like this for LWAC. So I think you're right. I think they're just making it an official town committee of some sort. So anyway, if you're already on it, then I'm going to put your name down. In fact, I need to look at the email. There's a form even, which I don't know if you filled that out before, but there's a form that you would fill out and send back to Brennan about being on the committee. So why don't I forward you that email, Bob? And we'll go from there.
Okay. And I don't want to be selfish. If there's anybody else who wants to give up their Saturday mornings and take it, please let me know.
I don't see any hands.
Yeah.
So I think we do need to kind of do a vote. So I'm looking for a motion to approve Bob as our liaison to the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee.
So moved.
All right, second?
Seconded.
Great. All right, Con,
Aye.
Fox,
Aye.
McDuffie,
Aye.
and Douglas. I guess you vote for yourself.
I think he'll do a great job. I'll say aye.
And Wilson, aye. All right, great. I'll forward that email to you, and we can see where that goes. Okay, that is it for this evening. Thank you for coming to our lovely meeting. If nobody has anything else, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll
Okay,
second.
Great. Khan,
Aye.
Fox,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
McDuffie,
Hi.
and Wilson. All right, so we'll see you all definitely in 2 weeks at the meeting, if not before, with some site visits or something that come up. But have a
Sounds
great
good.
evening. Stay cool. Some
Have a
Thank you,
good one.
Commissioners.
Good night.
Good night.